Welcome to the Big Mike Fund Podcast, where you'll learn about advanced wealth building strategies from real estate investing to creating massive ROI and secured retirement profits. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, grab a notepad, and lean in. Because Big Mike has got the mic, starting now.
Welcome to the Big Mike Fund Podcast. I'm the Big Mike Zlatnik, and today it is my pleasure and a privilege to welcome back my really good friend, Ryan Parson. Hi, Ryan.
Hello there, Mike. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I couldn't be better. It's beautiful springtime out here in Western Colorado, so life is very, very good.
Yeah, I enjoy the beautiful weather, and you certainly have gorgeous views from your house, so enjoy.
Very fortunate, that's for sure.
So thank you for coming back on the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about something really interesting. You obviously running an RIA, registered investment advisor, and you've come up with a really cool concept, virtual family office. I love the idea. So without further ado, let's jump into the concept. Let's talk about what is a virtual family office. What does it do? What are the benefits? Who does it serve?
Thanks, Mike, for having me. It's always a pleasure to get to talk about these different types of ideas, especially with the types of high net worth families. I know firms like yours serve, firms like mine serve, and really that family that is what I would call, Mike, that primarily a do-it-yourself type of investor that is like you, like me, have built our wealth in non-conventional ways, not stock market, not mutual funds, in different, especially in the alternative investments in the real estate space, and like to employ and look at different types of strategy techniques. And so what I've certainly realized, not just with my own wealth, but the families that we serve here at Sunlight, Mike, the need for those best practices that $100 million net worth family, some of these strategies and techniques that you were historically reserved for a large a single family office, meaning a family of more than $100 million of net worth, are now very available today, Mike, to families that are under $100 million through various different outsourcing techniques, the ability to access the other types of professionals needed based on the outcomes the family is trying to accomplish. And that's really where it stems to, as you say, as I think about it and talk about it and work with our families today, is this virtual family office concept, and in bringing those more advanced type of techniques to the mainstream high net worth family that is still really looking to manage a lot of their wealth themselves, still that do-it-yourself type of investor, but realizing there's complexities in their world, maybe increased levels of complexity in their world, especially with all the chaos going on around us today, that they need and desire some more of those types of best practices. So that's kind of the framework of what the virtual family office is, Mike, and how we've started to develop systems and the tools to bring those to our clients.
That makes total sense. So it's a la carte services that are available normally on full-time basis to a very large family office, but you're offering them a la carte to high net worth individuals who just don't need those services and staff on a full-time basis, but from time to time, they need access to those resources. So if I got this correctly, I know we're recording this audio, but you have some visual tools. So we will also have on our YouTube channel, this available for those who want to see the visual tools. Thank you, Ryan, for bringing up the visual tools, and let's talk it through, because this is a podcast, both in a video, but for folks who are listening to this, let's make sure they understand how it works.
Absolutely. So when we, and that's a great way, Mike, that you just described the a la carte. That's another great mindset to be thinking about why. And when you start to ask yourself the question as a high net worth, accredited investor, a qualified investor, when does the virtual family office construct start to make sense for me, and why might it make sense? And so I think what we can share here now, Mike, is really a topic and some dialogue that you and I have shared together for years, all trying to help our mutual clients, the families that we really enjoy serving the most, to try to understand some of these what I call the wealth strategy hierarchy. And a lot of times too, Mike, when a family is starting to embark down the decision, do I need to integrate the virtual family office constructs into our wealth situation, you can generally start to think of it in this hierarchy, because sometimes it's easy to think, well, is that an investment advisor? Is it a financial advisor? Is it a wealth manager? And as you're starting to see here on the screen, I'll try to describe these two just for those that are listening to the audio only and not seeing the visual here. But I think we all know, Mike, an investment advisor, using that term just to try to boil that down as simply as possible. That's really your stock jockey. That's your stock broker. That's your bond broker. That's your mutual fund sales agent, which generally comes in the form of the stock broker. It might be your insurance agent. It might be your banker. It might be your accountant. Sometimes CPA firms provide these types of investment advisory services, but at the core, they're selling you a product. They're selling you an investment. And that's really very mainstream, Mike, that, the bulk of investors, that's what their access tool is, to go buy more so traditional investments. But this VFO is not an investment advisor. And so when you look at going beyond this investment advisor, they're just a single approach. It's, here's what I sell. You want it, buy it. You don't want it, I can't help you. And so therefore, the investment advisor is really not thinking about the goals the family has necessarily. And from an access standpoint, you really don't have the confidence of, are you getting the best deal? Versus how you and I think about alternative investments and how we try to create deals that are really the best deals from an access point of view to the deals themselves. And therefore, the results that an investment advisor brings is just going to be in their singular area of their product that they're selling to you. So frankly, Mike, this is where the bulk of investors go to, because they just say, I'll get to it later. And so they abdicate their investment decision-making to an investment advisor. And of course, Mike, the families you and I serve are not abdicating their wealth at all. They are in control of their wealth. As I like to say, they're the CEO of their wealth. But the vast, vast, vast majority of investors do not take that approach. So that's why I try to really delineate the difference between, as you see, as we climb the hierarchy here, the investment advisor is just that day to day, and it certainly can have a role for even high net worth families. But those that are starting to embrace the virtual family office concept, it just doesn't work, because as we both know, Mike, the truth is, later is always too late. If you don't be proactive with your wealth now, you're going to miss out on those opportunities as the marketplace presents them. And so that leads me to this idea of what some people might call a financial advisor. And the financial advisor tends to be a little more limited in its scope, in terms of trying to think holistically about what it does. And again, this financial advisor could be your insurance agent, it could be your banker. Just about anyone can call themselves a financial advisor, but generally there's a product behind them that they're trying to sell. It could be an insurance product, could be an investment product, the kind of the more, again, mainstream type of products. And the financial advisor might be going a little more broadly, but they tend to be focused into one area of the overall wealth management structure. Again, I use the insurance agent as an example. Everything that they may do is going to have an insurance slant as the solution to a client's financial goals. Again, Not necessarily a bad thing, not necessarily wrong. It just all depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish. And so as families increase their wealth, both in terms of the size of the net worth, their complexities, they may then start to find themselves trying to elevate to a true wealth manager. And that a wealth manager is going to have a lot more extensive knowledge over a broader range of financial areas. And so they will tend to be more, have a greater emphasis on the clients or the family's goals and understand the family better and what they're trying to accomplish. And what I call this access is where you've got quiet confidence, meaning you look at the wealth manager and go, he or she has got access to maybe some specific things, maybe some off-market things, but maybe not still as broad as you would want it to be, depending on what your goals are. And that's not just investments, Mike. That's access to other types of professionals, whether it's tax professionals, legal professionals, concierge medical professionals. There's just so many other types of professionals that are really specialized towards the high net worth family. And as you climb up this hierarchy, the access becomes more and more important. So whether it's the wealth manager, Mike, it's the financial advisor, but particularly for families that you and I are primarily serving and trying to help them, really move their wealth needle wherever they're trying and they want it to go. This idea of the wealth manager tends to be where a lot of families that at least get to that level say, this is good enough. It certainly is better for me than a financial advisor, and definitely better than just an investment advisor. But the reality of it is, at least for the families that we serve, Mike, who I'm trying to, really move the needle with and try to really have tremendous results with, like you, Mike, good enough is not good enough. We know that it's possible to really have the best and truly be able to move the needle and accomplish what we want to. And that's where this virtual family office structure really starts to come into play. That's truly not just extensive, but is really comprehensive. And, Mike, this is another thing you and I have talked about, over the years as professionals as we are, or any professional that you work with, one person only has so much knowledge. None of us are absolute experts in everything financial, or everything legal, or everything tax, or everything investment, or everything charitable. And that's really why we have a full team of professionals around us who are the absolute best experts we can find to bring to the table to help solve issues that a family has, to help bring credible solutions and ultimately make good and smart decisions about your money. And so for the high net worth family that's under $100 million in net worth, that's why I see the virtual family office being an excellent potential solution for the right family that's ready for it to bring and help and have coordinated all of the professionals that can truly help move the needle, but doing it in a very cost-effective manner, doing it in a really strategic outsourcing type of manner. And that's where you really then are able to maximize those goals and have authentic confidence. You're getting the best access to the best professionals, the best deals. You're cutting the line, so to speak, Mike, and you're being able to work with investment professionals and asset managers like you and your team at Tempo that are really bringing those best types of deals in those areas that you like to specialize in. And the client has access to everyone that they need to have to truly get the results that they're looking for. So I hope, Mike, that provides some more of the context and the visual of why a high net worth family starts to ascend higher to this virtual family office and some of the elements that causes you to want to go there. And frankly, why some of the frustrations of more of the traditional financial planning world it can be problematic for families that are looking to do things, especially with alternative investments, real estate, and to truly bring a holistic experience to and getting the outcomes that they want.
That's a great summary, Ryan. I really appreciate you taking folks through the explanation. And for those who are listening can't quite comprehend the visual, Ryan, bring back the visual. Bring it back. So we'll keep chatting and we'll kind of describe some of these functions. But the power of this is that I really can't put it any other way, that you're combining all these best practices for high net worth families to select when they need expertise from the right sort of experts. And based on this kind of wealth strategy hierarchy, at least in my experience, the stockbrokers and the insurance brokers and those offerings, they are just typically available to masses, and they are heavily commission driven, motivated by whatever the product that they're selling, and they're not really representing the best interest of the client. In essence, theoretically, they have fiduciary duties, but practically they have a product to sell. That's all they're trying to sell. Mm-hmm. And that makes total sense. The investment advisors and financial advisors that are compensated by the products they sell, in my view, I would never touch those services, because they may serve someone, but in reality, they're serving the product that they sell. The wealth manager and then the VFO is where most folks should be if they've built enough net worth in their family net worth. They need to get the right type of service. Otherwise, the rest is just it feels like it's almost wasted time, effort, energy, and dollars. And then the wealth manager operating under the sort of a niche down from the VFO may be good enough, like you said, under some circumstances, to build the right portfolio for folks based on their own individual circumstances. But most folks move far beyond that, and they need other auxiliary services or a la carte options. So how do basically folks decide when do they actually need VFO? At what point? Because 100 million is a big number, and do folks start at 5 million, at 10 million, 20 million? At which point do they come to Ryan and say, Ryan, I think I could use your services because we've built enough wealth, we can afford a higher level of service where we do want to get access to the best experts, and we don't need them full time. So we would love to get their expertise, but on a project by project basis.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's one I get very often, Mike, trying to make this assertion of when do we start to embark on this. And the things that I see that occur for families that do the best with this and start integrating it are really once they get to a point of the level of complexity in their financial world. So what I found, Mike, is it's not so much about the level of wealth, although in most cases, the higher the level of wealth leads to more complexity, but not in every case. And every family's level of complexity is different, because it's not just financial related issues that cause complexities. It could be the way the wealth is structured, particularly if there's some sort of a family business involved, and you might have multiple generations working at the family business. Other complexities reside with the families themselves that aren't necessarily wealth related, but family matters and types of family matters add complexity into the client's situation that then in turn impacts how they think about their wealth and decisions they're making about their wealth. So typically families that find themselves in this position are looking at their level of complexity going and saying to themselves, am I making the best decisions with my wealth? And how do I make sure I keep making the right decisions while also making sure we're looking at the whole situation and identifying potential problems that could be existing. And I'll give you an example of it, Mike, that's just happened very, very recently with one of our families that has done very, very well with their investment portfolio, has selected, for them what they feel is a great portfolio, and have done very well with it over the recent years. And it's catapulted them into a massive estate tax problem, which, as you know, Mike, is a moving target based on whatever Congress wants to do. But it doesn't take long to all of a sudden, when you look down the road based on different factors, internal rates of return, and that type of thing. One of our clients realized, and they didn't even think this was an issue, because up till a couple of years, or just up until the last couple of years, it was never trending towards an issue, that they now have a multi-million-dollar estate tax problem. And those are examples of looking at how do you start to see problems, potential problems down the road before they occur, so that you can start looking at them and addressing them now before they actually become an issue. And I think that's another example of a client. If you find yourself thinking about, are all the decisions that I've made still working, or the strategies or techniques, whatever we're using, are they still relevant? Especially today, Mike, given all the chaos going around with social, economic, and political changes, obviously both here at home and abroad. And so those are a lot of questions high net worth families are asking themselves. And that's where the VFO structure can become very, very helpful in taking a look at some of the issues and making sure they're not issues, or at least they're contained to within a reasonable level to be able to deal with them as time goes on.
Yeah, that makes sense. From what I'm hearing from you, Ryan, is that most folks whose net worth at some point, it's not just net worth driven, it's not just a number driven, it's a situation driven. But obviously, because these services are custom tailored, there's a cost associated. Folks that haven't reached a certain level of net worth, it becomes sort of almost cost prohibitive to try to use them. Right. So I don't know what the right number is, but at some point, folks over maybe 5 million, maybe 10 million, could start thinking about it. And the more they go over that number, the more relevant it becomes to start chatting, at least have a conversation based on their personal circumstances. Obviously, I think state tax problems kicks in somewhere over $24-25 million between the two spouses, right? Somewhere around there. But over that number, if folks are over 20 million, that they should be thinking at least. Also depends on the age, right? If it's a young couple or a young individual, they've reached great net worth. That's awesome. They don't have that kind of problem, but they may have different type of issues, and it's maybe worth having the conversation early enough to proactively address any concerns they might have. So could be legacy, could be planning. How do you get your kids to not to squander the money you build, or even how do you educate the kids to live a better life, a life of true wealth, not necessarily just dollars, but being great members of a society and contributing to the wealth of a society. So all kinds of those issues. So how would folks get a hold of you? How would they reach out, and how do they start the conversation if it's not really obvious? So if there's a problem that they're solving, that may be an easy start. Hey, I think I got a potential situation here. But how do they get proactively to start chatting, to start thinking about it? What's the best way to reach to you and to start talking?
Yeah, it's if you're at a point that you're feeling a level of complexity, or feeling a level of uncertainty about some structures or elements of your wealth, Mike, that's usually an indication it's time to start having a deeper conversation about it. And so what we find, with new families that we're having conversations with, just having a very open discovery conversation about what are the priorities, what are you trying to accomplish, what have you been successful with accomplishing, what haven't you been successful with accomplishing, what do you think are some of the things that might be getting in the way. And so those conversations are really important to have, Mike, very early on. And I appreciate your willingness to offer, if anyone of your audience members might just are wondering about this VFO or wondering about their complexity, please feel free to text me. I'm glad to have an introductory conversation and just see kind of where that goes. You can also take a look at our website too, sunlightpeaks.com, can give you some of that additional information. But it really does start with, Mike, with that internal feeling that, this complexity issue. Do I have the right team around me, whoever they are and whatever their role is that you brought them on to do? That's truly everyone on your team of professionals, from tax to legal to charitable plan, whatever, wealth protection, just everything that goes on, are all of your team rowing the boat in your direction. And that's really where, if you feel like there's maybe some uncertainty or some lack of clarity around that, might be another good indication that it's time to start exploring some of those best practices that the virtual family office structure does bring.
Thank you, Ryan, for that wisdom. Thank you for sharing. And the phone number to text to is 1-480-284-4806. Visually it's available, but for the audience, I wanted to make sure I talk it through so that folks have the opportunity to reach out, or just sunlightpeaks.com. That's the website. Thank you so much again for coming and sharing. Really intriguing concept, and very cool concept, a very powerful concept, virtual family office. Appreciate you, and enjoy the beautiful weather in the sunny western Colorado. And too bad you can't ski anymore. I think the season is over at this point.
It pretty much is over. We might have another weekend or two left, but it's definitely spring skiing out here. So we look forward to, Mike, having you and your family back out here and getting to see you next time you travel out west here. And for everyone else, as you're getting your summer or spring and summer travel plans, I hope you all are safe, and any of you are coming through the Glenwood Springs, Colorado or Aspen area, be sure to shoot me a text and let me know.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you for listening to the Big Mike Fund Podcast. To receive your copy of Mike's How to Choose a Smart Real Estate Fund book, head to bigmikefund.com or visit Amazon and type Mike Zlotnick. Keep listening and keep investing Big Mike style. See you on the next episode.